Obviously, a couple days out since our last game, and we spent a lot of time looking at where we need to be better, and there's a ton of areas, but obviously the most glaring is the starts that we're getting off to, and we have to find a way to get off to a better start on both sides of the ball. We've been able to pinpoint a few things, and obviously we've worked on that, and we'll see. Hopefully we'll be better tomorrow. As far as our opponent, Hampton, really well-coached team. Coach Joyner's done an incredible job there, taking them from the MEAC to the Big South to now in the CAA. He's been there for a number of years and has successful programs. Older team that will pose some issues for us. Bigger guards, really the 1 through the 4. Just big guards that are older. 3 seniors in their starting lineup. Very aggressive shooting the basketball from behind the arc, pressure defensive team, and will pose a problem for us and pose a challenge for us in terms of their size at their guards.
All right, questions?
Coach, 2 games in, but do you feel like you're at least starting to get a feel for somewhat of a rotation, just kind of who fits where, that sort of stuff?
I do. It kind of took a half a step back last game because of the fact that Brandon was out, and I think, like, honestly, Stephen, around the country, a lot of people are dealing with sicknesses, just normal being under the weather this time, and it's obviously not COVID, but it's just the new norm. Guys that aren't feeling well, and so we dealt with that last game, and not having Brandon was a big deal for us. And the last couple of days in practice, we've had to deal with some similar issues with guys being out, and again, this is all over the country, so this is nothing. This is what everybody's dealing with. But with that being said, midway through that first half, I don't think our rotation looked like what anyone thought it would look like. But that was the group that got us back in the game. So I do think we're kind of building towards that. But until we can get everybody together, and I still think it's going to take time to really get into that kind of normalcy in terms of rotation.
You're 2-0, but the growing pains, you're kind of seeing some of those too, but you've still had success with 2 wins.
Yeah, I guess if you had to pick, you'd rather be down early and find a way to come back and win than be up big early and and lose that lead and lose the game. So, but again, I think win or loss, we just have to find a way to be better, both sides of the basketball. Honestly, the turnovers are really our issue early in the game. It's not as much our defense as much as our offense, and our defensive possessions have been solid, not as good as they were in the second half the other night. We hope that the second half is more what we'll look like on a consistent basis defensively. But we have to find a way to take care of the ball better, push tempo a little bit better early in the game, and we'll make a few adjustments going into tomorrow night and see how it plays out.
Coach, when you got here, you said defense would lead this team. You've got to be at least happy with seeing that starting to come to fruition a little bit.
Yeah, both games it was our defense that sparked keeping us in the game in the first half. I think it was the first game Mercer had cut the lead down to 9, and then in the second game, even though we were down more, down 19 versus Presbyterian, we cut the lead to 6. So yes, the defense has been, and I've always said this, I think defense can lead direct to offense and directly to points, and it did do that at the end of both halves, and obviously in the second half the other night. So yeah, pleased with that in terms of the progress, but we have so far to go.
How would you feel about the outside shooting so far?
Early on, honestly, we're taking too many threes early in the clock, early in the game. We're settling for those. Now, those same shots have gone in the second half, but again, it has been sparked by the momentum from our defense. There's been better ball movement, and it's come off of a paint touch. If you really look at early in the game, some of our threes have come where we have not hit the paint. We've just swung the ball east to west, and we end up taking a 3 versus a set defense. And that's not what we want. You're going to have to take some of those. That's just the reality. Hampton's a really good defensive team. They're going to put us in that position. But we have to be a little bit more aggressive early in the game, trying to get a piece of the paint, whether it's through a post touch, a drive, some kind of action. And then if we get a 3 on a kick out, we'll be okay with that. But we took a little bit too many of those early. But obviously we've shot the ball better in the second half the first 2 games.
With Javon Small and the way he's playing so far early this season, is he anything surprise you the way he's playing, or was he a player that you maybe circled that you thought could take that step from freshman year to this year?
It's hard because we obviously didn't coach him last year, but ever since we got here in April, we really have believed in him. I mean, he's been, I've said this numerous times and I'll keep saying it, the 6 guys that stayed from April and the effort they put in and their commitment, and then through the summer, he really bought into our vision and what we want, and he has given the coaching staff confidence throughout the offseason. Now, did we expect or did we know what to expect the first game? No, we didn't. And then he had a dynamic second half. I don't think he scored in the first half of last game, and if he did, it was very minimal. But Javon's someone that's had a really good off-season, summer, preseason, and I think he's kind of earned what he's got in the first couple games. But he has so much farther to go and to be the player that he's capable of being.
Coach, you've had to come back from double digits both first games. What have you seen out of the guys as far as fight that it's got to make you pretty happy?
Yeah, I think that's probably the positive when you're in that situation, because no matter how hard we work to hopefully not be down what we've been in the first couple games, there's going to be times during this season and in the future where we're down and we're going to have to show fight. And fight isn't just when you're down big. Fight might be with a lead. Fight is in a close possession ball game. So from that standpoint, I have been pleased with what the guys have done. But the reality is we shouldn't have to be in that position to exhibit that kind of fight. And all we've talked about when we've been down in those situations is continue to defend and continue to rebound. There's never been something offensively or something obviously where, hey, you got to go make a home run play or change anything. We've really continued to do the same things that we were trying to do. We just executed them better, and our defensive intensity picked up and our rebounding picked up. And when that happened, again, it led to opportunities, led to fouls. So yes, I've been happy with that, but we don't want to be in a habit of only doing that when we're down, obviously.
Are you hopeful BJ will be back tomorrow, or is it still kind of to be determined?
No, he was back in practice yesterday, so definitely, obviously, we've talked here many times, and we have another day of practice tomorrow. We have a shoot around tomorrow, so until we get to 7 o'clock tomorrow night, I hope we have everybody, but BJ will, should be back in practice today.
And with, you saw Devontae and Baela make threes last game. They've obviously contributed defensively on the boards. Was it good to see them, have some offensive success as well?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's huge. And I'll tell you something that's a big possession in the game was in the second half, and we blew a coverage on an out-of-bounds play. We blew a coverage, and they scored a layup. Owen McCormick got a slip to the basket, and he scored a layup. We came down the other end, and Quentin hit his first three of the season on the other end. And I remember in that moment sitting there thinking, we blew a defensive coverage. I was pretty upset on the out-of-bounds play, but Quentin came back and answered it, so we ended up +1 on that sequence. But I remember thinking that might be one of the bigger shots of the game, and hopefully for Quentin this season, because he ended up knocking down a three, and we really needed it. And so, you don't know how things are going to happen, but that was a big play. But yes, in terms of Ben and Quentin making some shots, making some offensive improvements in that game. Ben still took a few shots late in the game, and he knows he's got to understand time and score. But they're both really good offensive players that are getting comfortable in their role, and it was big to see them have better offensive games, particularly second half versus Presbyterian.
Your first week in Minji's Coliseum, how did it feel?
Awesome. These fans, the fan base, the students, the Minji's Maniacs, I've said it in the Mercer game, they were the difference, the impact that they made, it felt the same way. And as much as it got going in the second half when we were playing well, the fact that they stayed with us and they brought the energy in the first half, I can't thank them enough. And, I'll keep saying it, I think this could be one of the best home courts in the country, but it's all because of the fans, the students, and no, it's been awesome.
Anything else?